get this party started. Get everything set up for my sake. It actually plugged me in rather fast today, to my surprise. Just one moment. T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Turkey sandwich, T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Turkey sandwich. LA, are you there? LA, are you there? Give me a moment, guys. I am trying to get my connection corrected. It is a little delay in my performance. Why, I haven't the slightest idea. Now, it popped up very fast over there. Okay, here we are. We're in. Testing, 1, 2, 3. LA, are you there? LA, are you there? We've got a delay. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a delay in time. Okay, I can hear myself rather well. Let me turn it up just a pinch. Alright, welcome to LA. My name is LA, pronounced like LA, like the city. I'm not from there, but I'm breezy. You are watching Elay TV. Today is April. No, why do I keep saying April? And I know it was May. Today is May 12th, 2025. May 12th, 2025. Happy Monday to all of you. We made it through another weekend. I hope you guys' this weekend was awesome weekend. Peaceful. And I want to say professional. My weekend was professional. Okay, so let me put this on pause so I don't make a mistake. I have my royal computer set up, ladies and gentlemen. My royal computer. And as you know, May is the month for mental health awareness. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I believe there's a few other things that are packed into this month as well. It seems like each month there's always something, coming about. Thank you guys for coming in. Thank you so much. So every month there's always something getting packed in, just like how there's also it seems like every month there's another National Food Day, like there's National Baked Cookie Day, there's National Pancake Day. I'm not sure if there's a National Day or not. Hi Lone Warrior, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. I know there's National Ice Cream Day, and how I always knew it was National Donut Day because when I was at work, the manager always brought in a box of donuts for us. So that was one thing I was happy about when we had National Food Days. There's National Cheeseburger Day. I believe, is it in Wisconsin where they have the National Cheeseburger Festival where you can actually just go there and pig out on cheeseburger. In reference to food, I want to say there might be a banana split day as well. So, nonetheless, I didn't pull up the calendar. I didn't pull up the food calendar today to see what National Food Day it is. I just want to focus mainly on mental health awareness. And the topic is what is I was about to say digital breakdown. Nowadays it is a digital breakdown because if Snapchat go off for those of y'all who use that horrible app, or if you're using Instagram, but that's no different from Snapchat if you're using it for bad purposes. Nonetheless, if TikTok goes down or something, we're going to have a digital breakdown, which will lead to some type of mental something. But I want to talk about Mental Health Awareness Month today, and the second topic of choice is what is a midlife crisis. So, a midlife crisis, I've heard of that. I think I was first introduced to that term from my dad. Now, I think he was talking about someone going through midlife crisis. And we were in the kitchen of my second what should I say? Not second studio office. Oh yes, speak it into existence, LA. No, my second childhood home where I finished growing up at. And I believe he was saying it kind of like in a condescending tone that somebody he was talking about with my mom, whomever was, they talked about on a, seemed like a off and on basis, but it never seemed like it was good. But he was mentioning that so and so must be having a midlife crisis because he done did something that was out of character. That's how the conversation kind of went. Hi MMD, how you doing? So, having said that, the conversation with the midlife crisis and the way my dad presented it, it sounded kind of condescending, and like, and you know, condescending is a bad thing, but it was like a bad thing. I had to have been in probably, I want to say late middle school, so probably the 8th through ninth grade. And so I'm like, why he's saying it like that, and what is a midlife crisis? Because it don't sound all that fun the way you guys are saying it. In addition to that, it seemed like the way you're expressing this so-called person, you know, have a midlife crisis, shouldn't be entitled to have one. And that's about all the information I was able to gather in reference to that, because I was young. I was like really young then, 8th grade, ninth grade. And then I believe I actually heard the term midlife crisis on Bobby's World cartoon. You guys remember Bobby's World cartoon? Yeah. I believe Bobby mentioned midlife crisis. I'm not sure if it was his Uncle Ted who had a midlife crisis or his mom or dad, but there was an adult, Uncle Ted or Bobby's World's parents were having like a fit, I think in the living room, and the dog, I think, is his name Rover or Roger, was in there, and the parent or the adult was just like and then Bobby says something like, I think they're having a midlife crisis. But he shrugged his shoulders and was like, I don't know what that means, but that's something that I hear the old folks say. So so that kind of puts it into a concept of how, when I first heard the term midlife crisis from my parents, mainly my dad, I could relate to Bobby when he said that too, and he actually used the word in the right place, but he didn't know what it meant. So midlife crisis, I believe the third time I was presented with that word/term was when I was probably 23. And so when I believe I had my first and only midlife crisis, I was at 23, because I was in the living room of my first home I had, and a lot of things just started washing over me at around 23. And I'm like, ooh, I'm in trouble. And it just, one thought after the other, after the other, after the other, after the other, just kept washing over me like a wave. You want to talk about being an emotional wave? It felt like the waves of emotions and the consequences of my actions and the consequences of others' actions that bestowed upon me, where I lost by default, were just washing over me at such a young age. And I started to feel it, and I believe that was what I was having. So let me put down in here, I want to start the poll. Do you guys know what a midlife crisis is? Because I'm about to tell you guys today. Now, I typed in the question, what is a midlife crisis, yesterday as a prompt, but I didn't read it. So today I'm kind of going to be doing this for the first time, actually taking the time to read the actual definition of what it is, to see if it aligned with what I believe I experienced when I was 23. So do you know what a So I'll put that in the poll. Do you know what it is or not? I can only give my educated guess. So before I get to the definition, LA, what's up? Do you know what a midlife crisis is? Well, based on the few small definitions of what I've seen, which were 3, I think it might be a time where someone in their life comes to a sad age. Normally, by my experience, a midlife crisis happens when people are super older, like probably close to retirement years, and like super grown, and they realize that their life has passed them by and they haven't accomplished anything, or they have a mental breakdown and be like, this is not what I wanted my life to be, where I want it to be, or who I want it to be. To me, that's the best definition of midlife crisis, but at the same time, it sounds more like regret. So, which is why I want to talk about the topic today and actually discover the true definition of midlife crisis, live and in color for myself and for some of you guys too, because I don't want to just be throwing the word around and I'm misusing it myself. So I finally had some realization to say, like, I had some time to see what it is. And I'm willing to share my story because I believe I had mine at 23. And I wanted to know if that was a mental breakdown I had or a midlife crisis. So I typed in Google search, what is a midlife crisis? And according to AI Overview, it says a midlife crisis is a period of emotional turmoil and self-doubt that can occur in middle-aged adults, typically between 40 and 60. Wow. So the midlife crisis, according to AI Overview, can start from the ages of 40 through 60. As they grapple with their identity, life choices, and mortality. It's often associated with a sense of dissatisfaction, regret, and a yearning for change or a renewed sense of youthfulness. Now that I read the quote correct definition of midlife crisis, I can definitely say there was no regret. Because I was in the midst of steering the course correcting my ship, learning from the School of Hard Knocks. So it definitely was a regret. So I can say I believe, yes, I had a midlife crisis at such a young age. Now this goes into the notion that as contradictory as my mom and dad were, it may still be, and as contradictory as some of the adults who were around me as I grew up into adulthood were, they constantly said I was wise beyond my years when I was in high school and a little bit in middle school. That's when I started hearing it, from late middle school through high school. I was wise beyond my years. I was wise. I was an old soul. Blah, 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 blah. So if that's the case, yes, it's confirmed that then if I had the foresight to see things for what they were, I did have a midlife crisis at 23. Because what really broke me down was the fact that I was involved with someone at that time, a male, who was way older than me. And I think by, let me think, hold on, let me do the math. At least by 10 to 12 years older than me. So I thought that he would be more wise than me, more mature than me. I was mature for my age. Plus his, I knew I wasn't going to be playing games or anything like that. I didn't have time for the streets at that time. I knew what I wanted, and I wasn't for the streets. And I wanted to be a mom. I wanted to be, at the time, because I was dating, I wanted to be the best girlfriend leading into courtship for marriage. So I didn't have time for games. So choosing to go on a limb and date someone a million years older than me, I rested my head in assurance that that guy was not going to be stupid. Come to find out, I think I was 8 years in. The guy's dumb. So that's where I started to have my midlife crisis, because I wasted so much time thinking that things would get better. And number two, I had my head in the fog, and I was still in shock, thinking like, this guy's a million years older than me. He should be making the right decisions. His ideologies should be aligning with mine in reference to make money, you save money, you have money for spending, you take care of your children, you take care of your mortgage. Because I was working, and it just was weird. It just turned out that he was full of excuses. Too embarrassed to get a job because for some said reason he said he was a somebody, and was too embarrassed to get like a typical job at a fast food restaurant for fear of people laughing at him from being a somebody to a nobody working at a drive-thru. He didn't want to get laughed at. So that really started to weigh on me. I'm like, you're worried about what others have to say to you over taking care of your family? You don't want to go get a simple job at McDonald's? Heck, you claim to be smart. Why not go get a job at the factory? Why not go get a job like on third shift? Because I love third shift because nobody's around. Why don't you do like I'm doing? I'm way younger than you, and I'm managing to find jobs based on my social skills and my lack of being sheltered. So if I was able to do it by him being a man and much older than me, I just knew this wasn't going to be a conversation we were going to have. But boy, what's up? Hey, what's up, man? Shouts out to your YouTube channel and your TikTok channel. So saying all that, I was just going through the motions, and time did catch up on me, because I think I was working a couple of jobs at the time. You are so welcome. I had a couple of jobs at the time. I was raising our baby at the time. I was trying to help pay for the house bill at the time, plus the utilities. And then I was confused over the fact that why is he acting like this to be almost 12 years older than me? So when life goes on and you get to a schedule, you have to go to work, you have to go to sleep, I had to cook, I had to clean, I had to do it all, but still wondering, like, why is this dude not doing anything but talk the good talk, but then complain that I'm not doing anything, which is contradictory because the bills were getting paid. I bought the cars. So I think our 8 years in, I had a midlife crisis then, because I saw wasting my time 8 years, and it was going to be hard for me to figure out a way on my own to get rid of him. Because when I voiced out to my family, like my mom and my dad, and talked to them about just not how cool this guy is, and I'm not even scratching the surface, he started to grow physically abusive towards the end of me getting out of that I think 8-year relationship. I think it was 8 years. So towards the end of me trying to fight to get out, he grew physically abusive. But for the life of me, my mom wasn't taking me serious, nor was my father taking me serious. In fact, it seemed like they sided on the fence of evil, which was the man I was with at that time. And it confused the heck out of me, because for them to be followers of Christ, it should have seemed like they would have had the capability and access to use their discernment to see that this guy has been hurting me. So I know I had a breakdown, because like I said, I lost 8 years. I couldn't believe that this man was like 12 years older than me and acted like a 16-year-old, but still has so much power and control to have the gall to not waste a moment to make me feel less than. I always thought I was cheating, not doing enough, not dressing right, not acting mature for my age. But I got a house, 2 cars, taking care of our son, going to work, paying bills. He chipped in here and there, but heaven knows how he got that money. Now that I got out of the relationship and really started to think back. And I knew I was going to have a fight on my hands, because I knew that the way things were going, as I mentally prepared myself that I had to get out of that relationship. It was toxic and it started to grow violent physically. I had to leave. Probably was going to lose the house, and I was almost done paying for it. I wasted 8 years. The guy is a monster. I could not believe that someone so much older than me could be so stupid and immature. Choosing the opinions of others over taking care of me and his kid. And it was going to be incredibly hard to separate myself from that person. So within that moment, it was daytime. The sun was shining so beautifully in my house in the living room. I was by myself. I had some time for myself, which was rare. And it just was like crazy. So I know I had a midlife crisis. It wasn't a nervous, I had a midlife crisis. It wasn't a nervous breakdown. And I was 23. Because it's like I wasted so much time. And I'm going to waste more time and lose a lot because I don't know how to get rid of him. And I know I'm going to lose my house. And I wasn't around people who gave me the correct guidance. And that's that. So yes, according to AI Overview, a midlife crisis is a period of emotional turmoil and self-doubt that can occur in the middle-aged adults. Well, I had that in my early 20s. And they said this typically happens between 40 and 60. And as they grapple with their identity, well, I grappled with my identity because he started to break me down, started having me question who I was, my life choices, because I felt bad for picking the wrong person and getting mixed up with all these religious ideologies of staying and having bad people in my ear saying you should just stay because he's a good man, Savannah, but he wasn't. And I was trying to tell him, no, he's putting his hands on me. He's coming up to our kids' school, starting fights, tapping in my phone. Everywhere I went, calling me at work constantly like a lunatic. So, mortality, I faced issues with that because I didn't know if I was going to make it. So once again, the midlife crisis is a period of emotional turmoil and self-doubt that can occur in middle-aged adults, typically between 40 and 60, as they grapple with their identity, life choices, and mortality. It's often associated with a sense of dissatisfaction, regret, and a yearning for change or a renewed sense of youthfulness. I felt all that then in that moment. And what made it even worse was the fact that the so-called family and friends who were around me act like they had all the answers, but they were wrong answers. Boo! What's up, Rico King? So yes, I had my midlife crisis then, but thank God that I'm out of it. I haven't had one since. As I look back of being in such a toxic relationship and look to where I am now, I can't say it was definitely worth getting out of there. I lost pretty much everything, but it unfortunately came down to a situation where I had to choose my life or the life of having all the materialistic things that I worked so hard for. And so it was a hard pill to swallow, of course, because I did fight to try to save the house and get him out. But by me being surrounded by people who intentionally, now that I look back, gave me wrong information and didn't have my best interest at heart, there probably could have been a way I could have saved the house, but at that time I chose the best option because I was the one in that situation, so I left it behind, and I'm glad I did. So in reference to AI Overview, midlife crisis, here's a more detailed look. I'm about to read what the more detailed look is. Nothing much love, just hustling. Good to see you on this. Thank you so much. You be blessed too. Thank y'all so much for coming in. I know y'all doing well. If you're having a bad day or a bad moment in this time, you are no longer having a bad day or a bad moment. Sometimes we need other people to speak words of positivity into us when we don't have the strength to do it ourselves. Just because we don't have the strength to pour into our lives don't make us any less than anyone. Don't make it seem like we're slacking. We're just tired. So here I am today in this moment to tell everybody in here, you are important. You will have a good day. You will find a way. It's okay to take a break. It is okay to trust the process and let the Lord take the wheel. We cannot do everything. That's why a higher power is there. So I'm going to get off that ticket, but I'll speak the words for you if you're too tired to. Here's a more detailed look into what AI Overview says a midlife crisis is. What is it? It's psychological transition. It can involve feelings of depression, remorse, anxiety, and a desire to make drastic changes to their lives. Another definition of midlife crisis according to AI Overview is emotional turmoil. It can involve feeling of depression, remorse, anxiety, and a desire to make drastic changes in their lives. Oh yeah, I think I read that twice. So hold on. I might have to use my finger to look on the screen. Psychological transition. It says a midlife crisis is a period of transition and self-reflective where individuals question their life path, achievements, and future. I did all that then. Identity questioning. People may struggle with their sense of self, their relationships, and their career paths. Desire for change. Some individuals may seek to recapture a sense of youth, pursue new hobbies, or make significant lifestyle changes. Now on TV, they usually describe or signify midlife crisis as guys going out buying big flashy cars, dressing young, all of a sudden. How can you say that that is a midlife crisis? Those are the stereotypes of a midlife crisis. So maybe I'll put in the next tab, what are the stereotypes? How you doing, Soundwaves? Welcome to the show. I'm currently typing in what are some examples of midlife crisis. Because on the movies, they show people just doing the typical. Dressing in younger clothes, like they just revert back to youth. But in my mind, if you're on the right trajectory as an adult and you have a little money to get those extra things that you always wanted as a child, does that mean you're in a midlife crisis? I think what balance the scales in identifying if you're on the right or the wrong track of a midlife crisis is how he or she acts once getting the car, the dream car they always wanted, or going to the places they've always wanted, or having the things they always wanted. Will it change their attitude into a way that's honorary and egotistical? Then perhaps there might be something there. But for me, on the other hand, I work my behind off. So if I have some extra money floating around and there was something I always wanted, like the collector set of the Funkos, I'm gonna get it, you know? Or I'm gonna get the box set of a TV show, I'm gonna get it from my childhood. That's not a midlife crisis, that's a reward because I'm making more responsible financial choices. And when I know I have the opportunity or the window to get those things that are more reflective of my youth, that brings me joy and nostalgia that I can share with my family and also have for myself, I'll take that opportunity then to get those things. So that's not necessarily a midlife crisis. So I put in the tab some examples of midlife crisis, but right now I'm going to finish reading what AI Overview is delivering to us. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Thank you for Soundwaves for coming in, and all the people who have been coming in and out, popping in and out, and the people who are incognito, I thank you for coming in too. Continuing on, it says mortality awareness. The realization of aging and the inevitability of death can also contribute to the crisis. I haven't had that. I embrace aging. I want to live a long time so I can be that one who is telling everyone out here what to do, what not to do. I want to be a living, breathing example. I want to live all my years that were designed for me to live. I don't want my life to be cut short. I want every single minute of my life here to be on this earth, and I want it to be a long time. So I can be a living testimony that you can have fun through your life, through the good, the bad, the ugly, and all the stuff you just did not want to go through, i.e. my midlife crisis at 23. and show you how I can still turn life into lemonades even in my senior citizens years. I want that. I need all that. So I'm not afraid of aging. I welcome it, and I think it's a gift. So moving forward from that, desire for change. Some individuals may seek to recapture a sense of youth, pursue new hobbies, or make significant lifestyle changes. Now that's another thing for me in reference to recapturing a sense of youth. All you have to do is go back to being yourself. Most of the times, it's already inside you what you want to be. But if you get if life bogs you down, you're gonna have to dig deeper to find the inner you, which was cool, innocent, fun, happy. There's a little bit of something in there to help bring you back. Sometimes now I'm thinking about it aloud, the representation of finding youth. I think that when people relate midlife crisis of women and men going backwards and dating people who are way too young, it's simply because they still have issues that are unresolved. It seems like, as I think about it, in reference to people having a midlife crisis and acting out, it's some deep things they haven't resolved, and they're still going back to this false identification of what it means to be young and youthful and happy and carefree, live fast, die young, make mistakes, don't care, YOLO life. But those are all piss poor examples of youth. But it seems to me those are the default settings that people who have these midlife crises resort back to when they said they didn't have to care about anything, when they didn't have to worry about anything, when they claim had all the time in the world. So you want to go back to being irresponsible? Well, that shows today, while you're 1,000 years older than me, you're still being irresponsible. So you want to revert back to a system that was instilled in us the wrong way? It's still wrong, and it kind of seems like a contradictory. You mean to tell me you want to go back to being ignorant, mindless, thoughtless? The way I see these people my age carrying on, it seemed like maybe that's why they are the way they are, instead of being a little more mindful and thoughtful or reading the room, because they have surrendered onto their midlife crisis and reverted back to where they wanted to be when they were young. And so that's why you see an influx of people who are in their 40s and 50s and so on still acting like they are still in college or still in high school, because they took the cowardly approach and reverted back to that, a time when they thought things were good. How could that have been a time when things were good when you were being young and dumb and making mistakes? So either way you slice it, y'all still not making sense. No wonder the younger ones are confused. I was just as confused as I got older, and I started to have a different type of sight or a lens of maturity, and saw how my parents' ways were very contradictory, from doing as I say and not as I do. Well, they did a lot of doing as I say and not as I do. So it's like, shoot, who are you people really? Liars? I can live with that, but you won't be able to admit it. You probably chop off my head. So, according to AI Overview, the desire for change falls under the category of midlife crisis. And it says some individuals may seek to recapture a sense of youth, pursue new hobbies, or people, or whole families, or make significant lifestyle changes. And I'll expound on that, because on TV they show like women leaving entire families, men leaving entire families, and I just can't do this. This isn't the life I wanted. I'm just leaving. And then there'll be some dodo saying, yeah, girl, you only get one life, do what you want. Yeah, it's going to come with consequences, too. To what it sounds like to me for some of these people, I cannot speak for all, is that you just don't want to do the work and you're too lazy. I'd rather you just say this is a lot of work and I don't want to do it. It's still going to be tough, but there's too many grown folks still out here not being honest with themselves. Midlife crisis. A midlife crisis should be a turning point and the one and final true wake-up call before things do get worse. Have you ever noticed that when adults have midlife crisis, it's like they go through a death of someone who they really care for? It can either make or break them. And if they don't come out of it refined, they're going to come out of it as if they were on drugs or something. And it's sad because there's not really anything in place for them to help them cope with the midlife crisis. You know? It's so sad. It will make or break you. And if it breaks you, does that mean they just sit around and accept their lot in life and just decide to say, well, this is as good as it's going to get, and they accept that, which could lead to alcoholism or street pharmaceutical abuse because they just don't see no other way out of it, or they feel or bought the lie that they don't have any more time? A time of reflection, that's the word. Amen to that. Do what you haven't done while there's time. Yes. Bought the strong delusion that there is no more time. And then in this case, while we're on it, if they're on that cycle of thought, if they are graced with another wake-up call, or like Soundwave says, a time of reflection, sometimes the time of reflection or said wake-up call is so bad because that's just life's way of trying to get you to wake up. Sometimes it don't end well, y'all, because we receive and internalize life's lessons so much to the point where we get sucked into our own self, our own black hole, which is obvious that we come from darkness, the good darkness. Because if you can go inwardly in a dark spot in your mind and you cannot see what's going on around you, heaven knows what's out there. If you can sink so deep into yourself and you're just you, heaven knows what's out there. No, skydiving isn't for everyone. Skydiving, there's skydiving and bungee jumping. I would rather skydive before I bungee jump. If I had to choose, I would definitely choose skydiving, because within skydiving, you have the option to jump out with more than one person. So that increases your opportunity for survival. But with bungee jumping, you're flat out on your own. I hear you for that. Man of the land. So here are some signs and symptoms that AI Overview provided for us in reference to what a midlife crisis is. Here's some signs and symptoms of a midlife crisis. Feeling sad or a lack of confidence, a sense of unhappiness or dissatisfaction with one's life or situation. Feeling bored or unfulfilled, a lack of motivation or engagement in daily activities. Excessive thinking about the past, looking back on past decisions and regretting choices. Now, to me, these don't sound like midlife crisis. What it buckles down to me is more or less the regret. And I believe that there is a strong difference between midlife crisis and regret. Like, for example, I like this example here though. Excessive thinking about the past. Have you ever seen Napoleon Dynamite? I really enjoy that movie. There's a particular guy in that movie who is always stuck in the past, reliving his glory days as a high school senior. What is it? Football person. What do you call it? VP? I don't know, forgot the lingo for that now, but for the best football, whatever you call it at that time in high school, varsity, he's been stuck in that. He just cannot get out of it. He dressed like from the time he's in, he talked like he's from the time he in, he act like from the time he in. It's like he had arrested development of being stuck when things were good in high school. He hasn't evolved past that. He didn't develop himself beyond that. I don't know what happened. I might have to watch the movie again and solely focus on his timeline, but he was stuck in the past. Now, I know somebody, unfortunately, the person I talked about at the beginning of this video in reference to me identifying my midlife crisis, was the man I dated who was like 12 years older than me. He was always stuck in the past, and it was creepy, just like the guy from Napoleon Dynamite. He just always talked about the past. Wish he could go back to the past. Wish this, wish that. And I'm like, well, if that's the case, why are you with us? If you really want the past so much, you're in the wrong situation. So those are another things that added to my midlife crisis I had at 23. His thought processes. And everything was a contradiction. But wanted so much out of people. And pointed flaws around not only myself, but everyone around him. And people just took it like it was okay. There was not once where he had a decent conversation with someone before in a matter of time it turned into low-key sneak disses about the person. Shade before the word shade even became common knowledge to the commoners. Before it's just in picking out people's flaws or making that the highlight of the conversation and deflecting from when people were trying to engage him into conversation. So people just were okay with that. I wasn't. So excessive thinking about the past, looking back on the past decisions and regretting choices, that guy, to my knowledge, is still in the sunken place of excessive thinking about the past. So much to the point where I believe his mind and how he chooses girls are still there too. He acts like Shannon Sharp, unfortunately, for lack of a better word. Very unhealthy in his mind when he views relationships between the opposite sex. It's very unhealthy. Women, watch your teens moving forward. Impulse actions, making sudden or impulsive decisions such as quitting the job or buying expensive items. Consistently comparing yourself to others. Feeling envious or insecure about the accomplishments of others. He did that a lot, but will deflect that that's not in his character. But I guarantee you, don't let 5 minutes go by. The conversation's going to turn sour. So causes, aging and mortality. The realization that one's youth is fading and that death is inevitable can trigger a midlife crisis. Take care of yourself. Take care of your soul. Take care of your spirit. Have your mind right. Those are the things that keep you youthful. Those are the things that keep you sane. So when the time comes, when you do get blessed to be of a certain age, you start to see those wrinkles. Your mind, your soul, and spirit will be reflecting onto you all these words of positivity and not all the stuff that society taught you to start saying and regurgitating back to yourself the minute you see a wrinkle, the minute you see crow's feet, the minute you see more freckles or age spots, or you start to get the turkey neck or the turkey arms. I think there's a system in place so the minute you see those things, all that stuff just involuntarily starts to come out like a program, and you start spewing all that stuff out that society teaches you to fear and dread. You're going to lose your husband now because you're getting old. You're going to lose your man now because you're getting old. You start pouring all that stuff out, and then you get caught up in this cluster funk, F-U-N-K, of thought. You'll start to manifest that into a reality, and you may self-sabotage your marriage or your situations because you get so lost in the sauce of that. You did the work of the enemy by your own self. So, when your soul and spirit is intact and you're intentionally trying to live right and have good thoughts, when those things come, the acceptance is different. And you won't be going around the riverbank having a nervous breakdown, laying on the cosmetic table, trying to turn back the hands of time in a science fiction Frankenstein type of way. Your mind can wander into some dark places, and it can have you out there so much. When you look up, you could be accidentally push yourself out of a good thing, be it work, a friendship, a marriage, a car, a potential deal that you're about to close, or making a new job commitment, or choosing to relocate or go back to school. Because of these insecurities, in reference to the midlife crisis that says aging and mortality, the realization that one's youth is fading and that death is inevitable can trigger a midlife crisis. We've got life transitions here. Significant life events such as the empty nest, when your kids are all grown and you're back at square one with your hubby. And that's a good thing, because now you two can work on personal projects together. Shaping your view around you, embracing the stages of life, because it's going to come whether you want it or not. So let's prepare the best way we can for a softer landing than a hard crash when we see things are coming. Some crashes we will not be able to prevent, but by gosh, we can soften the blow. He says a person should have a variety, old and new. What do you mean by that? Like, old and new memories? Yeah. You don't want to just be stuck in the past in that aspect, because it'll penalize your present and defunct your future. So I'm with you on that. Lack of accomplishment. Some individuals may feel that they haven't achieved their goals, or that their lives are not fulfilling. That's when you have to do some self-reflection and figure out what you can do to improve. That's right. That's right. They even show that, like, with cute little animals. And puppies, you see the puppy tests? Isolation puppy test. They don't like being alone. Heck, as grumpy as cats can be, they too like the company of others. Not all the time, but there are times where cats, once again, as grumpy as they can be and stank face, they still like to have the affection of a human or another cat friend. They need their daily dose, or they just need their dose of interaction as well. So, well said, y'all. But a person should not spend time in isolation. Not good. It's not good. And then it says here in the wrap up, is it a guarantee? Here's some positive points in the aspect of perceiving this whole midlife crisis thing, guys. Maybe some nuggets you can take home and share with everyone. If you're into chicken nuggets, not everyone experiences a midlife crisis, and it can manifest differently for each person. It's not necessarily a fixed stage of life, but rather a period, see, just like we were saying, or of transition that some individuals may inquire. So I'm going to read that again, y'all. It's not necessarily a fixed stage of life, but rather a period of transition that some individuals may encounter. Some people may handle this period of transition with greater ease than others. So I like that. Not everyone has one, and if they do, it depends on the scale and to probably how much time they lost, how many things they lost. And also, even if it's a lot of things they lost, or time they lost, or friendships and stuff, it's also about the social circle and the magnitude in which you have mentally prepared yourself for life's unforeseen circumstances, because not everything is in our control. I'm fiddling around with this computer and making sure the battery's charged. And let me check my cell phone really quickly. Let me turn up the light just a smidget. Okay, so I have a little time left. I'm going to drop down to get my eagle on. Boom, 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 boom. Drop down to get your eagle on. I typed in Google search. I asked, what are some examples of a midlife crisis? I'm curious to see. What are some examples of, oh my goodness. Now these glasses going through a midlife crisis. Let me clean these things off. Hold on, let me try it again. No, I didn't make it any better. Let me put my computer down. Hold on. Ooh, what the age? Yep. Let me clean these puppies off. So yes, guys, as I clean the smudges off my glasses, thank you for coming in. Today I am talking about a midlife crisis. Actually getting the actual definition of it. To me, there's not really one solidified meaning or definition of midlife crisis. It seems like a slew of things that are borderline basically between regret, just different variations of regret. So who invented the word midlife crisis? I haven't the slightest idea. Oh, that's so much better. But I can't say the word midlife crisis is a word that should be used, because when I had mine, I definitely wasn't living in regret. So for lack of a better word, since not saying that, so for, how can I say, yes, for lack of a better word, regret wasn't what I went through at 23. I had a midlife crisis. But I wish we could further expound on what that was with a more solidified meaning. So I typed in, what are some examples of midlife crisis? And AI Overview has, a midlife crisis can manifest in various ways, often involving feelings of dissatisfaction, anxiety, or a desire for significant life changes. Examples include career changes, impulsive purchases, neglecting personal hygiene. What? That sounds like depression, dramatic mood swings, and withdrawing from other usual routines. It can also involve exploring new relationships or questioning life choices. But once again, the disclaimer did end by saying everyone has a midlife crisis, if at all, in different ways. Here's a more detailed breakdown of some examples. Okay, let's get to it. Career related. Okay, I'm curious about this one. How does a midlife crisis affect the career? Is it because you realize you been at a job for a whole bunch of years, and where did the time go? And I wanted to do other things, but shoot, I didn't know I was at this job this long, so I might as well stay here till I retire, because I have 6 more years and I'll be done, and I don't want to start over. Now I've heard somebody say that before. They're stuck in the pickle. I'm like, why don't you just switch jobs? The easiest answer is just switch jobs. I don't want to, because I put so much time here and I don't want to start over and blah blah blah, what this, what that. I'm like, bruh, in my head, you're better off than me. You have a family, you have a house, you have this, you have that, and you scared. Now will be the most opportune time to switch careers while you have a steady foundation. I don't know what to say with people who seem to have everything but too scared to take a chance. It's the mind thing, man. The prison, man. prison of the mind and have you just standing there as life passes you by, knowing you want to try a different job. A midlife crisis can manifest in various ways. Under the category, there's career-related. Career dissatisfaction, feeling stuck in a rut or unfulfilled in one's current job. Seeking new opportunities, making a career change or starting a new business, loss of interest in current work, feeling apathetic or unmotivated towards work responsibilities. Under relationship related, here are some examples. People get tired. They do. But does that constitute as a midlife crisis? No. You're just tired. But that's not grounds for a midlife crisis. Relationship related. Questioning relationships, feeling dissatisfied with current relationships, including marital relationships, and seeking new connections. Now that seems like that's always the go-to one they use on TV. If they can get outside the box and get beyond people having a midlife crisis from buying a flashy car, a flashy red car, or stepping out on their marriage, I think we could get somewhere. But these seem like these are the two go-to examples that they use in media for a midlife crisis, and that's not much to go by, which is why I'm trying to get a deeper explanation of this whole thing. Impulsive actions, engaging in behaviors like reckless spending or new sexual encounters. Terrible. Withdrawal from relationships, withdrawing from previous social activities or relationships. Personal related, guys. Changing in appearance, becoming more concerned about appearance or trying to regain a youthful look. I've been around being with an idiot who was like that, and it's toxic, y'all. It's so toxic. I'm just glad I'm out of it, but I had to expound on that because it's part of my story of the things I realized when I was 23. And how this person was 12 years older than me or more. Act like he was still 16, 17. It's sad. Seeking new experiences, traveling, taking on new hobbies, or engaging in adventurous activities or reckless activities. Emotional distress, experience increased anxiety, depression, or irritability. Regret. See, they said regret. Reflecting on past choices and feeling regret or remorse. Now, what's worse, regret or remorse? It seems like remorse would be worse than regret. Loss of meaning or purpose, feeling that life is meaningless or that they have nothing to live for. That's awful. This is going into depression. I still want more substance. I still need more substance of this midlife crisis thing. This says from sources across the web. These are keywords that are used apparently to describe points of reflection or points where a psychologist or psychiatrist can classify you in and during your search or reflection of your midlife crisis. Regret, aging, depression, feeling unfulfilled, irritable, new supplements or hygiene routine, sadness, withdrawal, anxiety, declining sexual desire, divorce, dramatic changes in sleep habits, irritability, mood swings, physical changes, weight loss or gain, career changes, career dissatisfaction, characteristics of a midlife crisis, passing away of a parent, feelings of nostalgia, financial insecurity, lacking motivation, major life events. Now, out of all those words I said, the only thing that stood out was characteristics of a midlife crisis. And it's giving me a drop tab so I can see what that says. Now, I'm going to turn my screen around so maybe you can see some of the list of words I read. Let's see if it'll show up. Because once again, to me, it's falling more into a depression state than a midlife crisis. But unless midlife crisis can make you depressed, then these are all the said words that come with it, you know? So if you're experiencing a midlife crisis, these are some of the categories or something that you might be dealing with according to the computer. Don't know why I turned that around, because if you look, you see them in the bathroom. Oh well. So I'm going to pull down characteristics of midlife crisis and see what it says. This is what they should have been leading with in the first place. Characteristics of a midlife crisis. To accurately recognize the signs of a midlife crisis ending, we need to first be sure of the signs of it happening. Then this other one says, midlife crisis and depression have some common symptoms. There we go. Including difficulty concentrating, insomnia, irritability, and reckless behavior. Now the reckless behavior, I tell you, now that's what I was talking about, because the people who claim to go on a midlife crisis, they just want to go back to when they were young. When they were young, they were mostly reckless, having reckless behavior. So you want to just go back to being irresponsible, causing mischief, knowing you have all the time in the world to F around and make poor choices intentionally. Why? Because you can and because you're young. Those aren't healthy, productive choices. Those aren't fruitful decisions. With all your time passed, you're not going to have anything to show for. But bad decisions, headaches, and possible jail time. So he says, so I'm 49, on job 20 years, still dressed baggy. And heck no, there's a big difference, which is why I've been kind of reading through here to kind of get a better definition of what midlife crisis is, because to me it's still kind of too vague. And all the definitions they've been lending out just seems more like a depression or people who just have regret. What it means for me is you just know who you are. You know where you are. You know what you like. That has nothing to do with a midlife crisis. It's just somebody who knows who the heck he is. There's a big difference. I'm trying to figure out a bigger diaspora of what this is, because to me a midlife crisis is just an excuse for people to fall back and be reckless, immature, and irresponsible. I'm trying to press on this hyperlink to see what the article says. I'll wait for the window to open up and see what it's going to tell me. I have a little time left before I do have to leave. Let me see what time it is first. Yep, I have some time left. As the window opens up, it brought me to a website called guystuffcounseling.com. guystuffcounseling.com. Now, I will remember to put this link into the description after I'm finished, so you guys can just be introduced, if you haven't already, to a new website that about guy stuff that can help you or someone along the way. So this article says, tell me the signs his midlife crisis is coming to an end. This article is written / typed by Dr. Kurt Smith, LMFT, and on those degrees, it was written / typed on November 26, 2024. So this is a 9-minute read, but there's a contents, and the contents is as follows. Characteristics of a midlife crisis. Signs of a midlife crisis could be ending. How to respond when a midlife crisis is ending. Now that's first, because I haven't heard of people saying that a midlife crisis could end. All I ever hear on TV in real life is that they're going through it. But you never hear anybody seem like they ever make it out of it. Now that's a horror story. Have you ever heard anybody successfully make it out of a midlife crisis, or they're still reverted back to being immature by choice? meaning to choose to live their life with reckless abandonment, taking no responsibility, not taking any accountability. And the last one, there's takeaways about a midlife crisis is ending. So I'm going to go right to characteristics of a midlife crisis and push that hyperlink, and I will start there. Once again, I read it from guystuffcounseling.com, GUYSTUFF counseling.com. Characteristics of a midlife crisis. Brace for impact, because I want to learn something too. To accurately recognize the signs of a midlife crisis ending, we need to first be sure of the signs of it happening. As I review these, see if any of them fit your situation or people around you. Below are some brief excerpts from other articles I've written about midlife crisis. I encourage you to click the links at the beginning of each section and read the full article when you're done with this one. Here are some midlife crisis signs from Lauren's husband, Derek. From our article, Midlife Crisis, Is My Husband Having One? Well, I like to see what a woman does when she has a midlife crisis. It's probably the same thing, but just swap out the name he for she and so forth. So he's becoming distant and disconnected. Derek had been this way for the past year, and Lauren had noticed, but she thought it was just due to all the pressure at work. There is a lack of real communication. Lauren has come to realize that what she thought was good communication with her husband wasn't that deep. That makes me think of a mom. It ain't that deep. Girl, it's not all that deep. Okay, Lauren has come to realize that what she thought was good communication with her husband wasn't that deep and didn't let her know what was really going on inside Derek's head. So she's basically saying she thought the conversation that she was having with her husband wasn't all that deep, and that her husband wasn't really letting her know what was going on in his head. The later/article continues saying that talking about big changes, new jobs, hobbies, large purchases. Derek has been doing these things for several years. Often these are signs of internal unhappiness. This is dangerous, guys. Which is another reason, like when we're reading like articles out of here, or like when I was in high school, at Teen Magazine, we had just all those magazines were for girls, for beauty magazines, where they had relationship advice, like Ask Alice about what you should do for choosing a better direction for your decision. You have to be really careful and try to answer the question as well-rounded as possible, because people who are here to want to learn, who are really trying to find the way and are absorbing this information, if you're just coming at this situation that's as important as this from one direction only, be it intentional or not, someone may unfortunately take this information that I'm reading to you as gospel and solely act on that. And then there comes more additional problems that did not have to be there. So this right now isn't good enough. This isn't good enough to help. But I want to continue reading, because maybe after reading this portion, I can come up with a better definition. Because these aren't really good. Sudden lifestyle changes. When a man who used to be home for dinner suddenly starts going to the gym every night or out with the guys for drinks, it's time to take notice. This is just teen magazine talk. These are things that get people in trouble. These are answers where people who don't have the time or the patience need quick 1, 2, 3 punch answers, wham ma'am, thank you ma'am answers, without wanting to actually take out the time to do the work. These answers will get you into trouble. Here are some common characteristics for men in midlife crisis from part 2 of the article. This is just trash. Thinks the grass is greener and what he has in life isn't good enough. Willing and wanting to leave without figuring out what's wrong in the first place. Thinks he is his own best counsel and that no one else could possibly help. Now let's reverse that, because like if someone's looking for what examples of a midlife crisis, And if they are fueled with only running off this information that I'm reading, that these articles are delivering, it will only strengthen your one-sided view of this said topic. And once again, it will strengthen you for a fight where it will dismantle the whole thing, you and your partner. Now this goes both ways. The woman could be having a midlife crisis, and the man could be having a midlife crisis. So what I'm reading now, just swap it out for him or her. But these articles are heavily one-sided, and to me, it's designed to sabotage what could be salvaged. So as I read these things, I urge you to really vet out and flesh out these quote bullet points to go by, and really think inside and out before you just go slamming people with these jargons. Unrealistic expectation of marriage, relationship, etc. Think things should be easy and not require a lot of effort. Learn behavior from parents' failed marriage and behaviors divorce that his boss has exhibited. Yeah, these aren't great signs, guys. So once again, as I struggle to find a solid meaning of a midlife crisis, it seems like sticky territory. They both don't know each other. See? And that's what it boils down to. It's not necessarily a midlife crisis. So if we were to really break this situation down, it's more or less these are good counseling topics to help one get to know one another. This has nothing necessarily to do with the midlife crisis. Now, I had to reset and go back into my mind after reading all this mess. What do I think a midlife crisis is? Based on what I went through in 23, to deem that I went into a legitimate midlife crisis because regret wasn't the word, was realizing I've lost a lot of time, invested / gambled with someone who was not on my level, though presented he was, and he was like 12 years older than me or so. Already had a house that I knew I was probably going to have to lose because the relationship started to get physical. So that meant I was going to have to uproot my world and our child's world. So I really started to have a fit because at that time I didn't care about myself. It was more or less like, man, I got to uproot our son because this relationship has gotten violent now. And so all the plans that I had, those instantly had to pull the plug. So I had to make the decision to just flip the kill switch on a lot of things. And I think me realizing that in that time of being in the relationship for, I believe, 8 years, that I actually grew up some more, and that person was still behind with no changes at all. It was like, wow. I could have been so much further along, setting up the future for our son. I never thought in my mind that I'm still young, I'm 23, I have more time. Not at all. I knew the value of my time was important, meaning my existence is important. And that's what made me upset. It wasn't the fact that I wasn't going to be able to get the time back. It was just, can I say, how absurd to not respect the present, the moment, or the opportunity to evolve. Why choose to be in a sense of stagnation for the rest of your life? That's your decision, but why try to pull everyone else into your stagnated world? I realized 8 years, as I look back at 8 years, that that's what was happening, but I just knew I had to get out. I didn't feel like I'm still young. I'm 23, I can rebuild. I never felt like that when I was young. I never felt like, I think it's because I respected time. And that life was a gift. Life is a gift. So I never felt like those young kids were, I've got all the time in the world to get my life together. That's a disrespect to the creator who's giving you life, to just think you have all the time to intentionally make inhumane decisions because you have all the time to F around. So that's what I felt in that moment. So I know that was a midlife crisis. So based on my experience alone, that's the most healthiest example of a midlife crisis for me, because realizing I had to start again because I wanted to live, it did not make me want to go back and date young. It did not make me want to work overtime to flaunt and flex and have a better car. It didn't want me to have a seed of revenge, like I'm going to show this mofo that I can do it without him. I didn't have any desire to feel that way. I just felt more lost than ever because it's like I had to start over, and I realized that my parents were not the best people to give me advice, nor were, I should say, my cousins or people I went to school with, because come to find out, that person I was with is not a good person at all. But if they knew that, why didn't you tell me, since I'm such a good girl who never got out of the house? So what makes you think I was going to know these things? So realizing at that moment, at that time in my life, I had nobody, because you guys knew more about this monster I dated in my past than I did. And then you chose to play the role that I was crazy, stupid, and made these decisions on my own. I'm not carrying all the blame for that. And shame on you to feed into the lies, because you have some type of situation going on in your life that you probably wouldn't want to get involved with me. But there's a difference from simply not wanting to get involved, or continuing to play the role, egging on the situation, having the keys and the answers, but refusing with a smile not to tell me. But to just watch me burn makes me feel that you found some type of way about me in the first place. And if you don't come out with another explanation of why I was in that abusive situation for so long and didn't administer any type of help until said otherwise, you too are my enemy until further notice. So I had all these things to deal with. That's more than the midlife crisis. That's like a revelation. It's like a wake-up call. And I'm glad I got mine at 23 and not in my 40s. So turning lemons into lemonade, I am thankful that all that bull happened in my youth, so I can reap the benefits of being happily married, so I can reap the benefits of being with my family and our son, so I can reap the benefits of knowing that with the clearest perspective that I have coming out of that situation and choosing to strengthen how I view things is a lot better. I can't say that. People that are not happy want everyone around to be that way. Best thing to remove yourself from the environment. Amen to that. And I realized that too. A lot of the people who were around me, come to find out, I don't think they were all that happy. Just masters that pacification. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they're still that way. Until further notice. Life goes on. So yeah, I will remember to put this link in here from what I read, but I believe is bogus. So I feel in the realm of figuring out what a mental breakdown is, like Soundwave said, and I agree too, because I was describing the same thing he said, but with one simple word. Let me go through here, back through the comments and voice out the word. What I believe a midlife crisis is, this is what he said, time of reflection. I do believe that. A midlife crisis is a point of reflection or time of reflection where life wakes you up really fast, especially for those like myself. I was brought up extremely sheltered and overly religious family, so I did not get out much, and I honestly didn't know much about the world. So I walked into a lot of bad traps that are laid out there for the vulnerable and weak. I fell right into it. So having said that, I'm thankful to have my reflection or my big wake up call like that. I'd rather have lost it all then and gain it now than the other way around, because as you can see, the people who are my age, or in the people who know well enough to know better, because sometimes some people do know well enough to know better and they're quite young. So I'm lumping the people who know well enough to know better and the people who are in their late 30s, who are 38 on up. You're going to be paying for it now. You had fun then, but the majority of you are paying for it now. And I don't feel no ways tired about it. Especially if on all those years and times you did not intentionally move away from the dark circle or siphon of life and those awful choices. You chose to just stay comfortable in your poop. Well, cheers to me and all the people in that age bracket who are now starting to receive the benefits of living a good life. I know that's right. You can say that again. Let me see if I can put some flames in the chats on that. I might have to use my computer. So I rest my head in that, knowing that. Let me find flame chat. I had to just make sure in this time of grace or mercy, I get the two mixed up, but they still seem the same to me, that I remain humble and keep my self in check, not to be wayward in my thought to the point where it can become stuck up. But I am taking the time to rejoice and reflect that my time has come and all you guys' time has come, you know, to receive a bountiful result. There's the flame. There. So that gives me some additional peace in knowing that. Because once again, what goes around comes around. What goes up must come down. So all of the people who are of age, they're getting their bounty because they have not shown any signs of repentance. That's pretty much it. That's an old word, but they have not shown any signs of change. So now the punishment is going to be higher. These people are out here going to jail and stuff now because they haven't shown any signs of change. We got Diddy. Whether they say he's a target or not, it don't seem like, regardless of the fact that they chose him to be a target or not, or the poster boy for all this, it don't seem like he never led up on choosing to live a terrible lifestyle. No different with, unfortunately, Shannon Sharp, Club Shay Shay. So just think, if this is what's happening in Hollywood, there's people like that who act like that, who are regular people, think they can get away with things like that. At the time you're supposed to be preparing for retirement is usually the day the law comes and gets you. So you can spend your days of retirement in the jail. I don't wish that for anybody, but if you're not going to get your lesson learned, you're going to have to learn a harder punishment. You're going to have a harder punishment. I saw your comment. Really? You talking about Diddy? That's too bad. It's just the whole psychology behind it all. And the fact that his mom still seems to be okay with living a life like that. Whew. Now, I have a video that I'm figuring out what day I want to talk about because I want to stay on topic. Well, it falls under the topic of mental health. And I want to talk more about my family, but the topic is going to be titled, sweeping things under the rug. Everyone's been involved with that. So before this month is out, I can't say that. I want to allow myself enough time. Sweeping things under the rug. This whole situation with Club Shay Shay and Diddy is basically a groundbreaker or a great icebreaker for people who have been in toxic families like that, or have been in close proximity to families who operate like that, like that's normal day living. That's not normal. That's not normal. But what happened to me is with Diddy is that he knew it was wrong, but he was so tiny at that time, getting dumped into a world like that. And then he just grew accustomed to it. And then when in Rome, do as the Romans. And before you know it, life started happening. Things started happening. He got bigger. And that ship done got too far away into the sea now. And here we go. And it's too bad. But once again, he's still accountable and responsible. So that's that on that. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I want to talk about it, at least have one more topic in reference to Mental Health Awareness Month, and tie in some more of my life experiences with it, so I can have kind of like a point of reference, so I can expound my story with today's realities. Thank you guys so much for coming in. And once again, I think looking for what's it called, a midlife crisis. That's what it is. A midlife crisis is a time, should be used as a time to reflect, not a time to abort or abandon ship. So closing remarks, let me type those in. He said more dancing. Yeah, I get to it when I get to it. I wanted to do more than that when I first did the first Chris Brown one. But I had to move as life moves, and can only plan what I want to do with the notion that things are subject to change. But yeah, I want to do a few more, but I'll get back to it when I have another block in time free to do as such. So I'm with you on that, because it is fun. It is really fun. Let's see here. Closing remarks. I'm going to put in... Is that a cereal bowl? Let me keep up with the time. Okay, I have about 15 minutes, so let me do this. Closing remarks. My closing remarks are as follows. I think the term midlife crisis is poorly defined. I think the term midlife crisis is poorly defined. Also, I think that a midlife crisis is more of a wake-up call than anything else. A midlife crisis should be looked at as a moment of reflection, not an opportunity to run away. opportuni, opportunity to run away. Opportunity to run away. I don't think I have access to spell check on here, because I didn't bring my mouse in with me. Unless the situation there. So my closing remarks. I think the term midlife crisis is poorly defined. I think that a midlife crisis is more of a wake-up call. A midlife crisis should be looked at as a moment of reflection, not an opportunity to run away, unless the situation is violent. Yes. So I have a survey here. Do you know what a midlife crisis is? 67% of you said yes, and where'd my survey go? And I think 30%, oh, there it is. Do you know what a midlife crisis is? 66% of you said yes, 33% of you said no. Now, after the reading/teaching of midlife crisis, do you feel that your definition should be tailored a little differently now? Have you come up with a different viewpoint or point of view of mental health? No, a midlife crisis now, after listening to my story and how I believe a midlife crisis how a midlife crisis should correctly be defined as. Let me start that over. So after going over these studies and a portion of my life experience of my midlife crisis at 23 years young, do you think that restructuring the way you think a midlife crisis is necessary? Has your viewpoint changed on the definition of midlife crisis? Have you learned anything or a new perspective on the term midlife crisis? Instead of looking at it in such of a boxy way that TV projects it to be, I think it should be looked at deeper, because in the beginning, the AI overview did express that everyone handles it differently. In addition to that, not all people go through it. Midlife crisis might just be a bout of depression, or it could just be mixed up with regret. So, and then in addition with my theory, I think the term midlife crisis is poorly defined. I think that a midlife crisis is more of a wake-up call. A midlife crisis should be looked at as a moment of reflection, not an opportunity to run away, unless the situation is violent. Yeah, but the job I have, I can't really get away from some toxic people. I believe toxic people are everywhere, especially if your light shines bright. If your light shines bright as to you being true to yourself, staying in your own lane, by default, they are going to try to attack you. And the thing is, just like the Matrix, they don't even know that the invisible world is real. So if they are walking around on a ball of energy, intentionally being toxic in some way, shape, or form, that opens them up to be able to try to attack you. Because I believe, like you said, unhappy people don't like to see people happy. Unhappy people don't like to see people trying for better or have a sense of self-worth. So involuntarily, entities will operate into them to try to intentionally antagonize you. That's the thing. If you read the Bible or not, there's a scripture loosely based: we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but spirits you cannot see. So thinking that, you have to think over them, knowing that these kids, that's what I'm going to say, because they act so immature. Toxic people are so immature. These kids don't even half the time know that they have other entities operating through them to try to intentionally want to tick you off, to knock you off your square. If you watch Star Wars, there's always opposition, good and evil. You're the good, they're the evil. The only difference between you and them is that you are self-aware of who's driving your car. They aren't. They have dark entities driving them. You don't. So it can be tough when you're surrounded by toxic people and you are the source of light. Because I like what my husband says: whether you like it or not, if you're in the dark room and you're the only light in there, everything draws to it, good and bad. You are welcome. So I believe that this will work. I believe that scripture is in 2 Corinthians 10, 4 through, I don't know, let me see, is the weapons of our warfare. Let me find it for you. It's 2 Corinthians. Some people have that actually tattooed on their arms because the fight is so heavy. Dealing with toxic people, you just need to be reminded and look on your arm. I usually see that tattooed right on people's forearms. So 2 Corinthians 10:4, it says, weapons are not physical but are mighty through God for the destruction of strongholds. These spiritual weapons are used to demolish the arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and to bring every thought into captivity. So basically what that means, when people always have something to say at your work, just know that they are operating through evil forces and they don't even know that they are on autopilot, and they've somewhere in their life they got a permission. They gave these evil forces permission to drive the car and vex you. But since you had the upper hand and know that, you know the power of words and the power of prayer. so you can easily dismiss them in your mind. You don't have to you don't have to say that stuff out loud. Your heart knows. So that'll help deter all that. So just keep that in mind. So congratulations for being, a bearer of light, and also realizing and recognizing what you are up against. And I am sorry that you're going through that. I've gone through that so much. Where I believe before I got a little bit smarter with these things I'm sharing with you, it set in a paranoia. I believe I actually started getting paranoid because of a relationship I was escaping from. There's a video about that now. My hair was teal, but having this scripture kind of helps keeps me in the safe place in my mind to know that they're acting out. I feel sorry for them, because you and I both know where it's coming from. Keep shining the light, and I'm glad I was able to help you with something. I'm believing for you, and I don't want you to have to go through that because you need your job or you want your job. Either way, you're there for a reason. And I pray that the idiots won't get under your skin where you had to abort and abandon ship before it's time. I pray that all the things that you need to do in reference to having that job come to pass faster so you don't have to be there. That the enemies leave you so you don't have to leave them. That you can go to work and not have to worry about dealing with them, the manager. All you have to worry about is getting your job done and making quota. Once again, I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but stay the course. My name is Elay, pronounced like LA, like the city. I'm not from there, but I'm breezy. Keep up the good fight. Keep up the good faith. Words of encouragement are for you when you are too tired to do that on your own. Have a good day, y'all. Thank you so much for coming in. Bye.